I know I keep doing these introductions where I say something along the lines of, hey, NXT proves how much you can do in just 1 hour of television, but it keeps being true. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check here with your February 20th, 2019 NXT review. You guys know the deal. Gonna do the house cleaning first. Big thank you to everybody that joined me for the pay-per-view pick-em for the Elimination Chamber. I know it went out late. I know it went out as a solo video rather than with me and the typical team. Couldn't get everybody together this time around, hoping to do it for Fastlane, but surprising number of people participating this time around. Usually 5, 6, 8 people. I think this time we've got 10. Quick shout out to Venom Twins, who sent me a message after the fact saying sorry he couldn't get in on time. It's all good. We're going to do it again for Fastlane, but let's break down the scores as we do. Scorp 18, Talks Wrestling got 12, Mike 2019 got 15, Melvin World Entertainment got 17, Mizark 10, and Hodge Johnson both got 18. The Alpha winner got 20, Fortune 4 Shooters and myself got 21, and strifenineteen and Mr. X tied for first place with 23 points each. So Mr. X and strifenineteen are your winners for the Elimination Chamber. Stay tuned for Fastlane, because we're going to do it all over again, are we not? This is my last push as well. This coming Saturday, if you have the Fight TV app, I want you to order a show called The Ritual. If you haven't been paying attention to this channel by now, you'll know I've been pushing this for a long time. It's a dual-branded pay-per-view between Destiny Wrestling, which you guys hear me talk about a lot, and Blackcraft Wrestling, which is associated with Black and the Brave, which, as most of you know, is Seth Rollins' training camp down there in the States. Where the double main event is Cedric Alexander, our champion, taking on Simon Grimm, who most of you guys know as Simon Gotch. And the other match, the other half of the double main event, is Johnny Blackcraft, aka John Morrison, taking on PJ Black, formerly known as Justin Gabriel, for Blackcraft's World Championship. It's going to be a hell of a show. OVE are also going to be in there. For those of you who know who OVE are, they're taking on Kobe Durst and Aiden Prince, who are a couple of really awesome guys from Destiny, who I think you guys should really check out. For those of you who know who Mike Elgin and Stone Rockwell are, they're going to be part of the show as well. Initially, our own Shotzi Blackheart was going to be taking on Soraya Knight, aka Paige's mom, but she's had to go back to the UK to do some promotional work for Fighting With My Family. So that match, unfortunately, is not happening, because we would have won that one too. I'm just saying. You guys will know I didn't do a review for NXT UK last week, and I haven't done one for this week. I will be catching up on those at some point, so you will be getting some late reviews, possibly sometime over the course of the weekend. I'm really not sure. It's just going to be a case of I'll get them done when I have time, because I'm literally not caught up. I'm halfway through the episode from last week, and I did see Noam Dar versus Jordan Devlin, which was a hell of a match. I saw a little bit of a stare down between oh my god, why are names escaping me tonight? Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley, which was really, really good. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. We're here to talk about the NXT episode for February 20th, 2019, because that actually is relevant to tonight. We start off with a quick recap of the Velveteen Dream and his trials and tribulations through not being part of TakeOver and then going on to be part of the Worlds Collide tournament. I know the Worlds Collide tournament wasn't met with very much bravado or esteem, but I think it was a really, really cool idea, and I really hope they do it again. I mean, to do that in conjunction very, very quickly with the halftime heat was a little bit of a misstep, I think. I mean, you can't change when the Super Bowl is, but I mean, you could have spaced them out a little bit better. I mean, I know you wanted to do this story with Velveteen Dream taking on Johnny Gargano tonight. And I will say one more time, this is nothing against Johnny Gargano, this is nothing against the North American Championship, because I think the North American Championship in its short lifespan has had a hell of a lineage. But to win this thing, where you can literally take on any champion from any brand, and you pick a mid-card title, it does do something to the main title. I don't know what it is, per se. I mean, Velveteen Dream, because he's as egotistical as he is, says he doesn't want to give Tommaso Ciampa any more spotlight. And that works storyline-wise, but if you think about it, it's really not that great. And yes, I have the NXT shirt on for anybody that's wondering. First match of the night, though, however, big surprise because I didn't read the spoilers and I didn't even read the precursor for tonight's episode. Aleister Black versus Roderick Strong. Not sure why. I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting something, but you want to give me Aleister Black versus Roderick Strong? Let's just do that. Yeah, I mean, they use this as the opportunity to talk about the guys that were on Raw and SmackDown this past week, which I'm going to talk about later on. But Aleister Black, Roderick Strong coming out without the rest of the Undisputed Era, which is really, really good. It's just sort of a... He's been a tag team wrestler for a long time, so let's remind you what you can do as a singles guy type thing. Single leg takedown by Strong and an armbar with a post shoulder tackle and a series of knockdowns and kicks by Black. A back elbow and a high angle German with a bridge by Black. Wrecking ball dropkick by Strong, backbreaker by Strong, who then stomps on the back. Another backbreaker by Strong and a rear face lock with a post. Everything working the back. It's fucking gorgeous. Front face lock by Strong and a corner spear by Black. A hard Irish whip by Strong working the back once again and a baseball dropkick. Sorry, a basement dropkick. I can read my own writing, I swear to God. A backbreaker by Strong, a knee strike by Black, a rolling back elbow and a series of strikes by Black, a super kick and a roundhouse and a brainbuster by Black, all in a row like this. Super kick, roundhouse kick, brainbuster, it's all good. Pop-up gutbuster by Roderick Strong slows down all of that momentum. Running knee by Black. They battle on the apron and Strong sort of tosses Black back first against the post. It's sort of like... It's not even really a backbreaker, but when he does the backbreaker type motions and brings somebody down on the apron, he basically did that sideways into the post, and it was really, really good. Slingshot into the bottom rope, throat first by Strong, followed by a power slam, but a Black mass literally out of nowhere like an RKO gets the win for Black. But of course, we got to get a post-match assault from the Undisputed Era. Ricochet makes the save, and gee, I wonder what kind of tag team match they're setting up for. I mean... It wasn't insulting to the intelligence. I mean, the post-match and the save by Ricochet were pretty much by the numbers, but the match itself, for a match I wasn't expecting, for a match I didn't quite know where they were going with it, it was pretty damn good. And it shows, for as dominant and as intimidating as a character like Aleister Black is, he can sell like a motherfucker. His back has got to be just a slinky at this point. And I mean, I know that this has been pre-taped and it's not live like Raw and SmackDown were, but he's gone through a match with Baron Corbin, which was interesting, and a match with... Who the hell did he face on SmackDown? Oh! Match with Corbin, match with Almas, who's not Almas anymore, and then a match with Roderick Strong tonight. That's 3 pretty good nights of exposure for a talent like Aleister Black. And not that he doesn't deserve it, and the other guys are great too. We have this sort of weird thing in the back where you think it's going to be an actual scene, but it's just a couple of girls talking. I think one of them was Sara Amato. I've only ever seen her on screen once or twice, so somebody please correct me down in the box below if I'm wrong. But there's a ruckus in the change room, and it's the 3 horsewomen. It throws me because they are the 4 horsewomen, but one of them's on Raw and one of them's kind of sort of trying to be a face. But Baszler, Duke, and Shafir just talking a bunch of shit to the women in the locker room area. One of them is Mia Yim, who sort of stands out above the rest of them. The way they film this, and I'm going to say this again later on, I know that a couple of the other girls there were girls from the Mae Young Classic, the most recent Mae Young Classic, but I couldn't tell you who they are because the camera didn't stay on them long. I know you got the short girl with the braids that was trained by the Dudleys, whose name I can't think of right now. But yeah, it was basically them just talking shit, and you think something's going to happen. I mean, later on in the night, something definitely does happen, but it's a whole lot of yelling, and then we just cut back to the ring really quick. We do get a highlight package of Raw and SmackDown in the, I guess you could say the NXT Big Four. Ricochet, Aleister Black, Gargano, and Ciampa, and their respective things on Raw and SmackDown. Now, Black I'm not really sure about, but Ricochet and DIY, because they fought as tag teams both nights, had a very interesting thing, because they each had one match against somebody that's very NXT-like, who can put on a very NXT-type performance, and they both had... I don't know how to say this, so you guys are going to have to excuse me. They both had an NXT match and a WWE match. I mean, you had Ricochet going up against, I I can't think, my God, against Eric Young. But then you also had Ricochet going up against Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. You had DIY going up against the Revival. Now, that's a fun one for me, because when they won Match of the Year a couple of years ago at TakeOver, it was at TakeOver Toronto, I was there live for that match. This, on my television, was never going to be as good as that, for a lot of reasons. It's a weekly show, it's a weekly main roster show, and I'm watching it on my TV instead of being there. But that being said, it didn't let it down at all. They had a very, very NXT-ish match, and then they went over to SmackDown and had a very, very WWE-ish match with the Bar, and the Bar put them down as being little guys and rah-de-rah-de-rah. Doesn't change the fact that it was really, really cool to see them on there. It was really cool to see Ricochet teaming up with Finn Balor. That's a decent team we'd like to see in the future. Excuse me. But anyways, put a lot of shine on all of them, and it's really interesting, as we say again, seeing Gargano 3 nights in a row because he's in the main event. We get the big announcement. Now, all over social media, we've been hearing something big is going to happen on NXT tonight. Something's going to change NXT. Something's going to, stir it up and make everything different than it was before. On the one hand, people were saying, oh, they're moving from the network to regular network television, which I think is absolutely stupid, and I hope they never do it. People were saying, oh, they're going to rename the TakeOver, which, I mean, they've done that before, no big deal. But the news is that the Dusty Classic is coming back. Now, on the one hand, all due respect to Dusty Rhodes, and I like the Dusty Classic, and it's a big focus on the tag teams and whatnot. That doesn't change NXT. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. Dusty Classic's going to start again in 2 weeks. The winner faces the War Raiders at TakeOver New York, which is no longer being called TakeOver Brooklyn, even though I think it's still happening in the Barclays Center. So that's something. The first 4 participants are the Forgotten Sons, Street Profits, the Undisputed Era, which is now Fish and O'Reilly again, not Roderick Strong, and Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel. Now, next week, we're going to introduce the other 4 teams, and we're going to see how the brackets break down, and then the following week, the tournament's actually going to start. So, get excited, but try not to be let down by the fact that they told you were going to, sort of shake NXT to its foundation, and that just didn't happen. I'm sorry. That's not to say that it's not a great announcement, not to say that it's not something I'm looking forward to, but I think they overhyped this one just a little bit. That's just me. Mia Yim versus Xia Li, basically a meeting of former Mae Young Classic competitors. Now, Xia Li hasn't had very much exposure on NXT, and Mia Yim has been made to look like an absolute badass. So visually, and in all of our minds, this is a hell of a mismatch. But it's really, really not. Xia Li is fast as fuck. She's got the martial arts thing going for her. And some of her strikes and counters are absolutely amazing. But it's a quick match. Collar and elbow tie-up and a series of snapmares and a face lock by Yim. Arm drag takeover by Lee, but Yim works the arm. Test of strength, takedown by Yim and a reversal by Lee. Running dropkick by Yim, followed by a cannonball in the corner. Both women trade some strikes. There's a back fist by Yim. She hits the eat defeat, which has another new name now. I think it was like check your neck or something like that. I'm not going to keep renaming everything. You guys know I can't keep track of the names of moves at the best of times, but Mia Yim gets the win, which was pretty predictable, and the Horsewomen come for a beatdown, which was also pretty predictable, and the whole rest of those sort of unidentifiable women from the Performance Center come down, which was all very predictable, but they take them out in short order. And this is the other thing I want to say about the other women, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to them, because whoever they are, I wish them all the best and all that kind of thing, but, they get basically taken out like stormtroopers. They get taken out like putties on the Power Rangers, and what you're left with is the Horsewomen and Mia Yim. You got Duke and Shafir. Why? My stupid speaker's on. Whatever. That's totally thrown me, and I've lost my train of thought now. You got the 3 Horsewomen in there with Mia Yim, Duke and Shafir basically holding her down on her knees. She's still talking shit, even though they've got her, like, immobilized on her knees in front of Baszler. Baszler comes at her with this big running knee strike to the face and all that, and it's all good, which immediately makes me think, at TakeOver, we're going to get Yim versus Baszler. That's unfortunately not the case, as we find out later on, but it makes you think, it makes you wonder what they're doing down the road. Because if it's just as much as I want to give Bianca Belair credit, as much as 2 of my fantasy booking videos have included another Baszler versus Belair match, I think Mia Yim versus Baszler is a more intriguing match. Not only because it's a match we haven't seen yet, but because also it's just a different combination of styles. And I think Mia Yim is an absolute badass. I know she was somebody big on TNA at one point. I think her name was Jade. So again, somebody correct me down in the box below if I am wrong. But I think she's a badass, and people are behind her. And going up against Baszler, you need a badass that people are behind. Belair, put my problems with her character aside, but she was a heel, or she is a heel, that we momentarily treated as a babyface only because she was going up against a bigger heel, and that's not the best dynamic in the world, and she's annoying as hell. I wouldn't care if she was annoying and bad, because then I just wouldn't watch her. The fact, and I keep harping on this, and I need to keep harping on this because the point needs to be made, it wouldn't bug me so much if she sucked. If it was just like, if they gave this gimmick to Nia Jax, or if they gave this gimmick to Naomi for some reason, I wouldn't care, because it would be a shitty gimmick on a shitty person. But the fact that you've got this woman in Bianca Belair who's absolutely phenomenal in the ring, who I can't stand because her gimmick is shit and the hair gimmick is fucking retarded, it bothers me because I could be enjoying it so much more, and I'm just not. And if you guys disagree with me on that, please feel free to disagree with me. Throw your thoughts down in the box below if you like, but it's not going to change anytime soon. In the back, we see Gargano getting ready for his title defense against Velveteen Dream. He's there with Candice. She's trying to be all supportive and whatever, but Ciampa sort of creeps up in the background. Candice sort of saying, "What the hell are you doing here?" Ciampa, in his creepy, manipulative way, man, "Hey, if you need me, I'll be here." Gargano denies it, tries to push a babyface promo like, "I earned this by myself and I'm going to go out there and show them why I'm Johnny freaking wrestling." But at the same time, behind what he's saying, behind the voice, you can still tell that the great conflict sort of within him between trying to still be the hero of his own story and slipping down into those devious means is definitely there. And I think, now that I think of it, it's the worst time in the world to introduce Johnny Gargano to Raw and SmackDown, because he's undefined right now. He's undefined because of a story that the main roster, who haven't been watching NXT, are just not going to understand. If you want to introduce him as this dark, creepy heel, and he's back with Ciampa and whatever, and they're a tag team and they're going to go destroy shit, cool. If you want to put him out there as the next generation babyface Daniel Bryan, as the pure Snow White babyface, do that. But you can't introduce a character that's already in conflict. And I think that's one of the things that really didn't ring through on Raw and SmackDown. Not to say that the matches weren't great, but I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody who just watches the main roster. But if you think about people that are only watching the main roster, you kind of have to feel sorry for them a little bit, do you not? In the back, or sorry, on the tape, we see an interview with Matt Riddle, and I would love to tell you about the interview with Matt Riddle, but I marked out just a little bit because Jeremy Borash is the interview guy. We've heard rumors that he's doing some backstage stuff and some interview stuff in the back, and, you know, working within the inner mechanics of WWE, but JB on WWE TV made me pop huge. Basically, the crux of the interviews, you know, people have told me for a while now I gotta tone it down, but I'd much rather be told to tone it down than told to tone it up, which was a great little thing. It talks about the Cassius feud, from the introduction to, you know, the judgmental attitude of Cassius Ohno, to the quick knockout that they had at one takeover, to the literal winning by submission by beatdown at the next takeover, which is all good, and talk about Cassius apparently leaving, which is only good for everybody. He says he doesn't care if it's tag team title gold or, I can't speak tonight, I'm sorry. He doesn't care if it's tag gold, he doesn't care if it's North American gold, or whether it's the NXT championship. His next goal in NXT, is to get a championship. Then we get the announcement that Baszler is going to take on Mia Yim next week. Non-title match. Only thing I can hope for is that Mia Yim wins and that gets her a title shot at TakeOver New York. And then we have her taking on Baszler at TakeOver New York. You have whoever wins the Dusty Classic going on to face the War Raiders at TakeOver New York. I'm very, very sorry if I seem a little bit scattered tonight. It's that kind of day. And I don't know what they're doing with Ciampa, because as we're about to see, Gargano's life just took a turn. I don't know whether they're going to do the same thing with Ciampa, if they're going to wait till TakeOver to do that, but I don't know who Ciampa's next challenger is, if I'm honest, unless you go heel versus heel and have him taking on Adam Cole, which I think would be amazing. You could have a Ric Flair versus Eddie Guerrero type of match with Ciampa and Adam Cole, be like, who's more underhanded, who's more devious, whoever's the biggest asshole is going to win, more or less. I have to imagine if you did a match like that, you'd have lots of interference, not only from the Undisputed Era, but from Johnny Gargano, possibly Candice LeRae as well. But what we have next is Dream versus Gargano for the NXT North American Championship, which should have waited until the pay-per-view. I'm just going to tell you that right now. As I say, I'm a little out of it tonight. I am not nearly going to give you this match the credit it deserves. I am going to try, but what I'm going to say, most importantly, if you are watching this and some reason have not seen this week's NXT, go back and watch this match on this week's episode of NXT. I've got it written down before we start. They have some scrambling chain wrestling to start, and it's not chain wrestling in the sense of like, oh, here's a headlock into an arm lock, into a key lock, into a reverse or whatever. They're both scrambling around the ring to outdo the other guy to get the first jab in and whatever, but eventually there's a collar and elbow tie, a front face lock by Gargano. Dream works the arm, hammerlock takedown by Gargano into a face lock. Both men work an arm. Dream slaps Gargano out of the ring. That's the end of your chain wrestling. Come back in, test of strength, side headlock by Dream, shoulder tackle, another slap by Dream, top rope axe handle, drop kick, corner chops by Gargano, who tosses Dream off the top rope, snapmare dropkick to the back combination, corner spears by Gargano and standing on his throat, which is always good, twisting neckbreaker by Gargano, who locks in a chin and arm lock, basically pulling his chin one way, pulling his arm the other way, stretching out everything in his chest. It's really, really good. Working on the neck. As I say, getting into a little bit more of that chain wrestling once again. They trade some strikes in the corner. Clothesline by Gargano, a modified abdominal stretch by Gargano. He does the abdominal stretch, but he has the other arm interlocked, like so it's wrapped around his own torso. So it's twice the abdominal stretch. Nigel McGuinness on commentary told us what the modified abdominal stretch is called. I don't remember. I didn't write it down. I'm an idiot. Two boots by Dream and a clothesline out of the ring. A famouser by Dream and a twisting mic check off the second rope by Gargano. Both men crack heads. There's a super kick on the apron by Gargano. Enziguri off the apron by Gargano and a suicide dive. Slingshot spear. I can speak. I swear, words are hard. Slingshot spear by Gargano trying to get back in the ring is blocked by a high knee by Dream. And I know it's not the sound literally of his knee hitting his head. I know they slapped the hip or whatever, but just the crack of whatever it was when he came in for that spear and Dream got him with the knee was fucking disgusting in the best ways possible. Twisting DDT by Dream and a super kick by Gargano. Headbutts by Gargano at a top rope Dream Valley driver. Oh, good shit. Dream on the top rope, Gargano bails. Dream jumps, top rope Dream Valley driver. Dream goes up to the top rope to hit the what do you call it? Words. Come on. We're almost there. Words are there. Goes for the Purple Rainmaker. There we go. See? Words are hard, but I got there. Goes for the Purple Rainmaker, but Johnny Gargano rolls to the outside. He's still on the top rope. Goes to jump at Gargano on the outside and eats a super kick and then gets slammed onto the steps by Gargano. Snap suplex on the ramp by Gargano, just, selling the desperation, selling the, okay, I'm going to do anything I can to fuck this guy up enough to run away with my title. Slingshot DDT by Gargano and a lariat, a super kick by Dream, another clothesline by Gargano, tilt-a-whirl Dream Valley driver, roll through Dream Valley driver, purple fucking Rainmaker, and Velveteen Dream is your new North American champion. And as I said before, as I say, the brief lineage of the North American Championship now goes Adam Cole, Ricochet, Johnny Gargano, Velveteen Dream. That's not a bad four to draw to if you're trying to sell a new championship to an audience. This match was fucking incredible. What I didn't mention was the entire time they took the old trope of somebody else's opponent, somebody else's enemy, just sort of sitting around in the back watching the match on a monitor, but they didn't do that. They showed Ciampa sort of high above the ring in sort of like the nosebleed section, watching it sort of deviously behind the curtain, and it was just different enough to be really, really cool. And there's this moment when Gargano loses, there's a smirk on his face, but he's smirking, but he's also shaking his head. Like, he's a little bit happy, he's a little bit mocking him, but he's also a little bit disappointed. So you got this guy who's apparently incredibly evil, but he's also a little bit conflicted. Him being the conflicted asshole meets up with Johnny Gargano being this conflicted person that was such a good guy, and the story of it, and I feel bad for the people in the arena, because the people in the arena didn't get that bit of Ciampa watching and his reaction, but the story of the conflict in Gargano, the conflict potentially in Ciampa, is fucking fantastic. If there was no title on the line, if there was absolutely no more title on the line, if Ciampa wasn't the champion, I would say let these guys go to New York, have one last blow-off match, and then if you're going to put them on the main roster, bring them up to the main roster as a fully actualized, a fully realized heel tag team, and fuck everybody up. Fuck up all the other heel teams, fuck up the face teams, and just be the sort of like the purest of evil that even takes out other evil. That's what I would do with these guys. That's just coming out of this match, which Ciampa wasn't even in. That was really, really cool. So we're set up for the next 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks, we got the Dusty Classic bracket coming out next week with the other 4 teams that have not yet been announced. We got Mia Yim versus Shayna Baszler, and then in 2 weeks, the Dusty Classic actually starts. As I say, I will get caught up on the NXT UK reviews. I just don't know when. There's a potential topical video coming out with myself and Kristen sometime in the next week or so. I think you guys are really going to like. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little bit more of that fantasy booking, a little more of that, hey, what would I do type of thing. So if you guys like when we get together and do stuff like that, stay tuned for that. Watch your subscription boxes. Subscribe to me on Twitter at SpazPhoenix1, like the number 1, because I know that these videos don't get pushed to the subscription boxes as much as they're supposed to. On that note, share me around to anybody that you think might like me, because I am growing, but I'm growing at a crawl, so any help I can get from you guys would be absolutely great. That's a tangent. That's just me shamelessly self-promoting myself. This was an awesome episode of NXT. Gave us 2 more weeks to look forward to. We're heading towards TakeOver New York, which seems like it's going to be absolutely fucking fantastic. I really don't know what else to say. I'm starting to lose my voice. I'm very, very tired. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, and right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.